Oh, I don't even remember October, November, so I just started keeping them up all the time. Feeding them and watering.
What time do you get out there and feed the chickens today?
Oh, heck. Afternoon. Sometimes it's afternoon.
Yeah.
Probably, I think like 1 or 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, it's beautiful today. Beautiful. So did you feed your chickens and start laying the seed down on the grass?
Well, let's see. I think just right after that, I had that bag sitting up there, and I thought, well, I better get that out there.
Might as well.
And it's
enjoy this day.
Well, I thought if it's going to be like this, maybe it'll grow.
Hey. And maybe, we're supposed to get rain this weekend, so.
Really?
Yeah, it's supposed to be nice.
Somebody said it's supposed to be nice?
Yeah, it's supposed to be nice, I think. Today was pretty, I think Friday's supposed to be pretty. Saturday, I think it's going to go to like the 60s. And then Saturday night, I want to say there's probably like a chance of rain, like 40% or something.
Somebody said it's supposed to get down to 25 degrees Saturday.
I'm not ready for that.
And I'm not either. I'll be getting sick.
I'm already working on that, so I'm not ready for that. Well, so what did you do after you got your chickens fed and all your seed laid down?
I just went back in the house.
Oh, yeah? Did you do anything when you went inside?
Played on the computer.
Oh, yeah?
Late sometime in there.
Anything good? Any games?
No, just a stupid game I played. What's it called? Call of War.
Call of War?
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, here she's going down this baseline with non-pertinent again. She's poking, but she goes a little bit too suddenly. And, you can tell because he goes back to that resistant posture. When she starts poking on timeline, he goes back to that resistant posture. Why? Don't know. Doesn't matter that I know. It just tells me there's something going on and I'd have to go back. The other interesting thing is before she gets to that, he has his arms folded. This is body language myth number 1 that everybody learns in high school psychology, is that if you cross your arms, you're blocking me out. Heavy people often will rest their arms in this way. There are other people that will. So if you believe that myth, you need to subscribe to this channel because we'll blow those myths out of the water in every show we do, and this is one of them. When a person crosses their arms, it means nothing. In his case, it can mean something. In his case, he's relaxed, and he's kind of in a data intake mood, and he's sitting there. We'll see him go back to that resistant posture with his hands on his legs, which is wide open. And that may make you think he's being honest, but he's being far from honest here. He's just resistant to the questioning. She realizes she goes too quickly. He goes back to that resistant posture, and so she has to back up and go at it again. I love watching this interrogation. She does a beautiful job of knowing when to go in and when to go out. He goes to a vague language about time, and then he goes to a chaff in that timeline and some ambiguous language. He even does a disbelief that really, I didn't know that face kind of, yeah, really, I didn't know that, but he's still in that resistant posture. He opens up again on non-pertinent, but then anytime she hits this timeline, you see him starting to lock down. And I'll leave it at that, but think, as you can also see when she's asking the question, he starts to resist. Watch him go into internal voices. He thinks about why she's asking the question. As he's responding and he's vague, his eyes are down and to his left, and we associate that with internal conversation. If you try to do a calculation, your eyes will do it. If you think about why somebody's asking something, your eyes will do it. And it's just a good indicator. Mark, what do you got?
Look, all I've got is that I saw exactly the same as you there, Greg. He's now become very concerned about questioning of the timeline, and it shuts him down. It's become obvious to him now, and he goes back to that resistance pose. So I just want to pick up on what you're saying there about arms crossed there. Let me give you 2 things that arms crossed can mean. I don't think it's the case for this, but just to add a little nuance of arms crossed means more than you think it can mean. This is one of the ways that sometimes people stay awake when they're getting tired and they want to pay attention. Up come the arms like this, especially if they don't have arms on their chairs to help keep their blood pressure and heart rate up by raising their arms. they'll do this to stay awake. Often when somebody's about to make a decision, they'll do this in order to shut down the amount of neural load that happens if your hands are going around. They want to shut that down to get more of their brain making a decision. And I could go on and on and on as to the reasons why people cross their arms. And I might never even, I get too tired to mention, that they're closed, because that's often one of the least reasons why people cross their arms. Chase, what do you got on this one?
This is a perfect example of what you learned earlier about short-term thinking. The precise and exact moment that she starts talking about the weekend, the future, and pulls him out of short-term thinking, his entire body goes crazy. He goes into digital flexion into fists. He expends a load of all the nervous energy from all of his limbs. He turns his head away. And then there's just a huge spike in nervous behavior. This tiny little mention about the future is the only thing that was really brought up right before we see all of these behaviors. So with your goal as an interviewer, or even if you're in sales or copywriting or jury selection, whatever it is to keep someone's mental thought process locked into this tiny little piece of timeline that never extends very far in the future. So the moment he releases all that tension is when he says, I'm not ready for that. And he's talking about the cold temperatures. But think about the phrase for just a second there. Later, he starts opening up again about the mention of the video game. So keep in mind, I would still place her in the top 1% of interviewers I have ever seen. So none of this commentary is criticism at all. But as you're watching this, now you know what you're looking for and how to get information from people. And you probably saw she could have been using statements in a lot of these instead of questions to make them a little bit more comfortable. Scott, what do you got?
All right. One more time. I can't tell you how many times somebody in the comments has said, you're training people how to look like they're not like they're being honest when they're being interrogated. That's not it at all. And this is the perfect example why, because this guy is constantly focusing on good body language. And then when he relaxes and he sort of loses track of it, that's when he gets those arms crossed, his legs are crossed, he's all squinched back in his seat and relaxing. And you can keep up that little show for a little while, but not forever. It's really, really tough. When he realizes what's happening, that I think is one of the things that sparks for him to straighten back up and go back to the way he was, because he was so relaxed and just talking. That's how she's getting into his head. She's already in there. And so I think it's so important to pay attention to that, because his body language is so obvious. It's so, and again, going back to that thing where if you're just sitting there and the slightest little thing moves, okay, you say adapter, this bothers him. There's an issue there. You can tell so much more by that than by us telling you things, act like this, or, here's how we see someone who's unsure, and those types of things. I wish everybody would approach their interrogation like this, because it would be so much easier for us if they would just sit there like that. We could just have to watch their hands and their legs or any kind of movement. It just flies out of there. It's so big. Now, when she brings up the weather, he gets a lot of stress in his system, and he stretches his legs and fingers again. And he knows what she's doing, but he can't call her on it. Not yet. He does a little bit later on, in a way. He doesn't quite say, I know what you're doing, but we'll see later on his approach to that. But it's really interesting how he handles all this, because, again, there's still this little game going on where they both know what's going on, but neither one of them will say exactly what's going on. Nobody goes in for the hard questioning at all on either side. And it's kind of like that feeling you get when you get in trouble and you're called to a meeting and they have to talk to you. I'm very familiar with this. And you're just sitting there waiting. They're like, well, how's your day been? They're sitting there talking to you, and everything seems, like it's going to be fine, or it's fine for that point until they get to the question part. Again, that's what's happening here. And there should be a point where it all comes together, which it does in a few minutes. It all comes together. But I don't want to go too far on this. because there's a little glitch in that part of it. But there should be a section where it all comes together and it makes sense, and then you can ask the questions you need to ask and get things started toward what's called a close or closing it. So I think he's way too focused on the way he looks to even be thinking about much else, because his brain, I'm sure, is on fire, thinking about, oh, wow, I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm looking innocent. I didn't do anything. I'm not moving. I'm not doing anything. But again, that's what's telling her everything. And as she's doing this, as this weird little play is going on between them both, she's just collecting information. She gets a little bit here, a little bit there, and just keeps putting all that stuff in her basket. And she's going to lay it out and look at the timeline and know something's wrong there.
One of those tape replays.
Oh, I don't even remember October, November, so I just started keeping them up all the time, feeding them and watering.
What time did you get out there and feed the chickens today?
Oh, heck. Afternoon. Sometime this afternoon.
Yeah.
Probably, I think like 1 or 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, it was beautiful today. Beautiful. So did you feed your chickens and start laying the seed down on the grass?
Well, let's see. I think just right after that, I had that bag sitting up there, and I thought, well, I better get that out there.
Might as well.
And it's
Enjoy this day.
Yeah. Well, I thought if it's going to be like this, maybe it'll grow.
Yeah. Hey. And maybe, we're supposed to get rain this weekend, so.
Really?
Yeah. It's supposed to be nice.
Somebody said it's supposed to be nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to be nice, I think. Today was pretty, and I think Friday's supposed to be pretty. Saturday, I think it's going to go to like the 60s. And then Saturday night, I want to say there's probably like a chance of rain, like 40% or something.
Somebody said it's supposed to get down to 25 degrees Saturday.
I'm not ready for that.
And I'm not either. I'll be getting sick.
I'm already working on that, so I'm not ready for that. Well, so what did you do after you got your chickens fed and all your seed laid down?
I just went back in the house.
Oh, yeah? Did you do anything when you went inside?
Played on the computer.
Oh, yeah?
Late sometime in there.
Anything good? Any games?
No, just a stupid game I played. What's it called? Call of War.
If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.